Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. For some reason, everything went crazy. So, Dorothy, Sharon, Harley, anybody, let me know if you've got sound coming through now. I'll just have to edit that part out. Let's see. Okay, good, good. I apologize, folks. It's been crazy. Let me just recap really quick, um, since that messed up. So I started the show late because we had to pay the bills. We had something come up with the bonding company, and I had to go do it real quick. So I had all this laid out, and it went terribly, horribly wrong. So I do apologize for not having the sound input in. I just looked down and realized. So I'm going to cut right to the chase, and I will probably edit this out later on so just bear with me on the live stream. Sorry about that, y'all. It's been a wild and crazy day, and I'm flying 90 nothing. So the first thing I wanted to talk about this evening was the school board meeting from yesterday in Catoosa County. And what I was trying to say, now that you guys can hear me, is just very simple. We're going to be covering a few things tonight, but I wanted to start off with this. So I want people to understand that when we talk about these things, business as usual, we spent the better part of our life not really paying attention and not holding any sort of accountability to the people that have our money and have our livelihood at stake. And what I was saying earlier is that get held accountable all the time, whether it be going to the grocery store, paying bills. If we're late on something, they threaten to cut it off. We pay our taxes. If we don't pay our taxes, the federal government comes after us. If we don't do our job well, we face accountability to being fired. All of these things as a citizen, we are held to a standard, to accountability. And it just seems like that it makes our elected officials very uncomfortable when we, the people, want to hold them accountable when it comes to a large sums of taxes and money and all these things. And none of this is meant to be a personal attack or, this is public record. It's supposed to be transparent. And now we're in these situations where we're expecting transparency, like people are actually digging in and looking into what is going on, and we want answers. And the quid pro quo, this is the way it's always been. It doesn't seem to work, right? And I think there's blame on both sides of this equation, because we know that very few people go to commissioner meetings, and very few people go to the school board meetings, and these things are almost seem like they're designed to work against the public in the first place. Especially when you find out, like I found out today, that literally there was several meetings going on and open houses at the same time of this very important meeting. But that's the kind of culture that needs to change. More people need to get involved. And so I want to stress here that this is not we're not bashing people, but part of the reason why and I decided to help out. Of course, I got a lot of viewers in Catoosa County. It's my neighbor county. I work in Catoosa County. I pay taxes in Catoosa County, not land taxes. But my point is that what happens in one county happens to all, and they proved it, I think, last night by this kick in the can, constantly pointing the finger at another entity or telling you that it's a state mandate, and there's nothing they can do about it. Excuse me, guys. So I'm just going to give you my kind of bird's eye view as somebody who's outside of the county. I'm not going to pick on this superintendent. His last name is Nix. I was not impressed with the superintendent last night. For one reason I picked up on, very clear reason, because we've done a little digging, a little research into all this. And my friend Nick got the 66-page report that he had to request, because the only thing that was out there was a 3-page report saying, hey, we need your $12 million. We're going to raise your property taxes 30%, right? So automatically, right off the rip, there's not much transparency in any of this. Then to find out that they already had a meeting that morning, and virtually, I'm not saying none of the school board read through the 66-page report that we did a 2-hour, live stream on the other day, but they had somehow read it, in between meetings. I think that's a little derelict of duty, if you will, that they don't seem to be taking this seriously. Now, am I blaming school board members? No, because honestly, they seem to be just kind of in the middle here. This thing seemed like to me that it was completely buttoned up. It had been well thought through. It was mandated, as they used that terminology several times, and there was nothing anybody could do about it. This is just the way it is. And they came prepared to go ahead and answer any of the public's questions before that portion even started. And that was a little bit of concern I had. It's not the fact that the superintendent did that, but it was the fact that there was zero remorse. There was a very, very much a lack of sympathy for the fact that you are telling people that their property taxes are going to go up 30%, right? I saw zero care from anybody, and maybe they were on guard, because of the morning meeting. I watched the meeting, but I didn't get to watch the citizen comments. But that to me was kind of disturbing. Like, to me, as an outsider watching this is what I took away from this meeting. It was like, hey guys, we're going to raise these school taxes 30%. It's for the children, and there ain't nothing we can do about it because the state mandates this, and we're just hands are tied, and we've let this go, and so tough luck. We're just going to raise them, and here's why. And before you even ask me anything, I'm going to answer this question, and don't bother me. That's what I took away from it. If I'm wrong, I would love to debate about it, but I didn't see any sort of sympathy or even remorse, or I didn't see anybody look at the public and be like, look guys, we're sorry about this. Like, this is a tough time. Because it's asinine to me that a school board, and this is not the only school board, right, would want to raise the property taxes 30% in this day and age and what's going on right now. And you heard from so many people that are faced with huge interest rates, their payments going up, people with multiple plots of land, and they're asking for 30%. And when the question was asked, when's the last time you've talked to the commissioner, when the commissioner talked to you, they just kind of looked there like, hey, it is what it is. Well, there was a commissioner's meeting going on at the same time the school board meeting is going on, and then a complete open house of the school system in the county going on at the exact same time. To me, what kind of message are you sending to people? This is already a tough thing, but it just seems like they don't care about what the people want or what the people are going to go through doing this. That's what I took away from that meeting last night. And it's not my county. I don't know what my county is going to do, and we're looking into that, right? Because it's not that these people are your enemy. These people were elected by you to represent the school system, right? Maybe not the superintendent. Because he's very proud of himself, from what I gather. Anyway, he could be a great guy, but to me, watching him talk the way he talked and trying to just nip it in the bud before, and then watching him during the public portion of this is I wasn't impressed at all. The dude's making plenty of money, and I'm not judging him for that. I've seen the principal report. It's not nothing to do with that. Principals and superintendents, whatever, they have hard jobs. But my point is like you can't look at these people, like you can't look at people in the audience and be like, I'm sorry, like, let's sit down and talk about this. Because to me, it's just like it was a complete lack of empathy there at the meeting last night. And I think a lot of people picked up on that, but that's what I left with. I was like, man, these people don't even care, And one other thing that this guy said was that he started almost immediately, don't believe everything that you see on Facebook and this and that and the other, and don't worry about what. And I'm sitting here like looking through stuff today. Well, I find an interview with him on Facebook, on another podcast. And I'm like, well, I didn't know this was out there. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I need to watch this. And I find an interview with their legislator, their state representative on Facebook and YouTube. And I find the school board member. So you're telling me, like, why would you even make a comment like that? So And who are you to judge when we have the lamestream media? So you're telling me that we shouldn't pay attention to anybody on Facebook, or there's no validity there, but you can go on there and you can talk, and we're supposed to believe you and trust you, but don't trust anybody else. Don't listen to anybody else's feelings or their opinions on the matter. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way too, because I mean, we are at the forefront of new media, and we are out here trying to distinguish and discern truth from transparency. And I was not impressed, and it's, that's just how I feel about it. I was so excited to see the people stand up and show up. It was standing room only, and they spoke their hearts and their conscience. And I don't know how anybody in the right mind, and I speak as a Republican and conservative, a person who wants less taxes and understands the burden of taxes. But if somebody would disagree with the fact that we are being taxed to death, right? That's a very un-American. I mean, that's just such a shallow way to look at life, because we are being taxed to death, and our school systems are important. But if watching the presentation that I watched last night that the school board presented, and looking through the 66-page report that we looked through and questioned, there's a lot of differences in there. And Nick asked the question, begged them to study that before the next meeting next Tuesday. And I applaud him for that, because, like I said, I left more confused than I was. I just left with, bottom line, we're doing this. You really don't have a say-so in it. Here's the world's smallest fiddle for whatever you have to say. We're up here. We're going to go home and eat whatever, and bye-bye. See you later. That's what I got from this meeting. There was no empathy whatsoever. It was business as usual, and it's just the shrug. Well, it's all we can do, So last time I checked, I thought we elected school board members that were going to fight for the people, fight for taxes, make the cuts that needed to be cut, whatever. I mean, we're bloated in every single facet of society right now. But like I said, this is not a personal attack. This is somebody who walked into that meeting. Well, I mean, I knew a lot about what was going on, but I was eager to listen, eager to hear these people. And I walked away with well, that's that, And it's a little disheartening. And I have seen commissioner meetings and other meetings like that the people did make a difference, where the commissioner really did listen, and the people listened and decided it wasn't a good thing, So I don't know, Catoosa County, Walker, wherever we're at, who on earth knows, but obviously we're at the bottom of the barrel, and they're going to continue to come at us because we are the easiest targets to pay for everything, Personally, to me, let me say one more thing about this. I've been hearing for the last 2 years that the state of Georgia has a surplus, $6 billion surplus. There's a $6 billion surplus, and the governor don't know what to do with it, right? Well, we got $6 billion. We might just give everybody send them a stimulus check, blah, yada, yada. Okay, well, if that's true, and we have all these billions of dollars in surplus because Georgia's the number one state to do business in, right? If that's true, then why is the state mandating all of these insurance rises and cost rises, and they're not taking some of that surplus money out and subsidizing it, right? And then, of course, there's so many layers here that, I'm not an expert. They talked about how the millage rate you can't go below, and everything's got to level out. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. But 30% is crazy. Crazy. Anywhere, man. 30% is crazy. Something's got to give, man. Where people are struggling out there like never before. And these are not crap hole cities we're talking about up here. This is one gentleman last night had said one of the reasons why that the kids do so well up here in school is because of the communities and the families that, and I took that personally, because when I grew up, I didn't care about school. I did horrible in school. I barely graduated. I had to go to summer school. I had to take a college credit. I didn't get to walk with my class. I was a stupid kid who just enjoyed making people laugh and aggravating the teachers. I got kicked out of school. I was in school suspension. I was not a good student, and I'm not a very smart person. looking back, the years that I wasted, just, in some ways, right? I mean, I've always done music, but my point is that I should have done a lot better than I did. And so when I had a family, when I started raising my own family, was the number one thing I wanted to do was to never let my kids fail that way, to push them, and I've got a daughter headed to college right now, which is something I never did. I ended up going to trade school and taking a little bit of college way later on, right? But I always push my children with my wife, hey, we stay in the game, get the best grades you can. And it was because of my failure growing up as a kid. And so that guy was right, man. It's not just the school system that nurtures the children. It's the families that do it. It's the families in these communities. And these tax raises, man, they're insane when they're going to take effect, how hard this is going to be for people to pull off in this day and age. Now is not the time to be raising taxes like this. And this is not something that happened overnight. This is something that's been coming for a long time. So we could totally get into that, but I'm going to move on, because I've all I can say is, man, have a little sympathy for people when you're asking them to have that big of a hit on your checkbook, man. I mean, yeah, you can put all the fluff that you want up on the screen, and you can tell people, I've already got your question answered before you even answer, that kind of thing. And then just kind of be looking smug and sitting there. It just doesn't cut it, man. I don't no sympathy at all. So, let me know if you picked up on that. And the video went rather viral. It's almost at 3,000 views. That's huge. And I'm going to go ahead and go through these comments here so I don't miss any about the school board. Thank y'all for hanging out. Sorry about the sound at the beginning. I'll fix that on YouTube and Rumble. Appreciate you guys sharing. It's good to see you, Harley. Ray says it was an eye-opener. It absolutely was an eye-opener. I've never really been to one before, and got very, very few people that are keeping up with this, and that's disturbing, because we know that this information is not just very easy to get, right? And it's going on all over the place. And we talked about it at work today, and I talked to people in Catoosa County and we talked to people in different counties with different millage rates, and like everybody's got, they're looking at this stuff. It's not business as usual anymore. You're going to have to understand that. Like, we're not going to stop looking into this. We're going forward to make things more transparent, more accountable. I mean, that's what we have to do. We cannot afford a 30% tax hike. So it's ridiculous. Kim's Coffee Talk, good to see you. I watched your video today at the Capitol. You guys rocked down there. Ray said they raised it 18% last year. There's another thing. And somebody told me they explained a little bit of this, but last year they raised it 18%. This year they're raising 30%. If my math is correct, that's a 48% raise in 2 years. How on earth, when the economy is struggling this bad, when inflation is so high, when we don't even know who's running this country, and we're just going to nonchalantly raise these school taxes like this? It's wild, man. Wild, wild, wild. Ray also says only a little over 7,000 voters voted in our local elections. That's the problem. And somebody asked me this question today. They said, well, what if 50,000 people showed up to the school board meeting? Catoosa County is roughly about 69,000 people, right? A little bit under 70,000. What if 50,000 people showed up at that school board meeting? Do you think that they would be raising your property tax 30%? I would say absolutely not. They would not do that if 50,000 people showed up. And that's what it takes, folks. It takes bodies. It takes people being there. But when A, the information is not widely available, B, you've got a commissioners meeting happening at the same time as the education meeting, at the same time as open house, where thousands and thousands of people are going to these schools that they're fixing to get their property taxes raised on, right? How is that making an open door for people to come and listen to why the state mandates you do this? You see my point? This is not cool. That needs to change off the board, off the top. If a board of education should not be meeting at the same time as another government entity or local municipality, it shouldn't happen. They should be segmented out in different, so people can go to these meetings and see what's going on. This is kind of crazy. Now, whose fault is that? I don't know, but it's something that the public needs to be aware of because it needs to change. That's wild, and I hear that happens all over the place, right? And Quarantine says, does Catoosa have SPLOS? Yes, they do have SPLOS, and they explained that they had eSPLOS last night as well. But everything that they have is just not enough, right? Everything they have, all of these, they started off with this video, these wonderful grants that they get from the state of Georgia, and then they went through another video about how it's got to be equal, the Equalization Act. And then they start, once they tell you all these wonderful things that they get, and then they tell you about the Equalization Act, and then they kind of go and tell you, well, that's the problem. See, the state is doing this. The state is making the state. Well, if the state is mandating all this stuff, then why do we have a board of education? Why? I don't understand. If we're able to kick the can down the road and blame it on this entity and that entity, then what do we need a board of education for? I'm being honest. I'm not picking on this board. I'm saying, what do we need these people for if there's nothing they can do to fight this? Or are they just, is it just like, hey, I brought this guy in, we've crunched these numbers here, we're going to put this out, and guys, this is what we got to do, we got no choice, you got to go with it. Third. I mean, is that how it works? I'm being honest here. It's questions that need to be answered by the citizens of the county. We need to be finding out this stuff. And it said, Ray said the school board was doing their meetings first. Yep, and I want to stress again, I'm not taking blame, but pay attention to people who are trying to bring you truth, because why say you can't pay attention to one person, but you can go on and they should pay attention to you? See, I'm not throwing shade here, but that needs to change, Ray. We've got to get these meetings where people know about them, want to go to them. We shouldn't be reactionary every time there's something going on that we don't like, right? In fact, we should be working together as community, working with our school boards to never have to raise property taxes 30%. It's, we're reactionary so much. So I appreciate the opportunity to be there. But wow, it was something wild, man. So I appreciate those comments. I wanted to get them before we get further in. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to pull this up real quick. If you don't know who Joe Rossi is, a very cool dude that is fighting really hard for the election integrity. So I want to play just a little bit of this video. This was their press conference the other day at the SEB meeting in Atlanta. And so this is it says citizens declare state of emergency with Georgia election system. So I want to play a little bit of this because I found this fascinating, and there's a lot of people that are really, really fighting hard in Atlanta to just get things right. So here goes.
Take it. Now to the heart of this presentation. I said that the ballots were tabulated twice, counted twice, and it was not done accidentally. This slide shows that a ballot on the right over here was scanned and counted, creates a file. Some of the experts in the room, like Garland, know this, but if it's scanned again, it creates another file, which means it is counted twice. So how did this happen? This is a very complicated slide that has taken months for technical experts to develop and explain. It's also very difficult to explain, but it basically shows that ballots were scanned on one day, and then they were randomly picked, these batches of ballots, and created new batches and scanned a second day on a different tabulator.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. So he's setting this up in pretty much layman's terms about some of the evidence and findings that they've had, and they've had that they're fighting for tooth and nail to get recognized. And He'd also read off the X tweet or whatever you want to call it from Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, where on August the 1st, he had basically come out and said, if anybody has anything that we need to investigate, we will do it to the most due diligence of the law, blah, yada, yada. And these people are on the steps of the Capitol during this SEB meeting saying, where are you at, Raffensperger? We're right here. We've got all of this stuff, and nobody is looking into it. So, folks, I want to remind you that nothing has changed since 2022, 2020. Nothing has changed, okay? We've got some legislation that's been passed, and the vast majority of that legislation won't even go into effect until after November. So we're still here. If you watch this presentation on Rumble, the channel is Grassroots Activism on Display on Rumble. And I'm going to show you the rest of this clip because I think it's important that he lays this thing out so elementary on just, this is just one aspect of so many. So we know we've got problems that people are sugarcoating across the board. This information is so hard to get out, but I want you guys, if you haven't seen this video, I'm going to play the rest of this as a couple more minutes. I'm going to just show you, he's going to show you exactly how these things work, and here it goes.
So you probably can't understand this slide. So I'm going to show you how it was done very crudely, okay? All right. So on that first chair, you have a stack of ballots. You see them over there? Again, my props are not professional. I'm just doing what I can to get the message out. On the second chair, you have a second stack of ballots that were scanned, let's say December 2nd, Wednesday, when the midnight deadline was for doing the election recount. On the third chair, you have a third stack of ballots that were scanned on Wednesday. Now, someone or some group, I don't know who, but this is not accidental what they did. They went to one stack of ballots, randomly grabbed a few stacks from that, no order. I got a random group, okay? Some of them I flipped around so that they count backwards this time. Then they went to another stack of ballots that were already scanned. You notice I'm not necessarily picking them from the top, right? I'm just grabbing randomly. And one more time, I'll do it for example. They went to another stack. And then the next day they came back with that randomly selected stack, and guess what they did? That last chair over there is a tabulator. They ran them through on a second day through a different tabulator. And they did that for 3,930 ballots.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop it there. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you need to go to Rumble, go to Grassroots Activism on Display, and check that video out. I've also shared a link to this video on Kingdom Lump Small Town, and several people have shared it. I've spoke to several people that have been to the SEB meeting, that have been to several of these each month, and this one was a little bit weirder. So a very wise person posted today that if you haven't been checking out the SEB, that you really need to go to the live stream and you need to watch some of it so you can really see what people are saying and not just what everybody else is saying outside of this, right? Lots of things happening. I will tell you this, and you'll have to bear with me so I can pull it up here. But earlier today, well, actually yesterday, we were looking through, and if I can find this, it may not let me pull it up here. I can pull it up to my phone. there is a new Stacey Abrams group, and I just wanted to share this a little bit with you guys because it's rather concerning how all of us here are doing whatever we possibly can to move forward, right? We have no money. We're out here using our own money, our own time to bring truth and transparency. And so let's just look this up really, really quick here. I'm going to open up a new tab. It's called newgeorgiaproject.org. Now, let's see. Type this in. The reason I want to bring this up, let's take a look at it. This is Stacey Abrams. This is Stacey Abrams who fought for election integrity for, oh, God knows how long, right? For many, many years, and it was embroiled in lawsuits. And at that time, her organization got pretty much broken up, and so now there's this new Georgia project, right? And we can go and look at this a little bit. But these are the people that were invited also to the SCB meeting, right? It doesn't matter what political party you're affiliated with, but I just think it's pretty wild that they've got this beautiful website. It says New Georgia Project is a nonpartisan. Now this is nonpartisan effort to register, civically engage, and build power with the new Georgia majority, whatever that means. The large and growing population, black, brown, young, and other historically marginalized voters in the Peach State. So obviously this is a targeted website, and I got to look at it today, but so you see this is already like dividing people by race and color, and there's a lot of money that goes involved in all this stuff, whereas all of these, what do you call them, non-governmental agencies, NGOs, operators, they got all this money to put all this stuff together, and it's just kind of crazy to me where does this money come from? Where does all this money come from that they have? And I honestly believe it looks different. Georgia, our next election is November 5th. The future of our state and country is up to us. That's the power of our vote. Make a plan. So I've not went through this. Okay, so yeah, it was different on mine, on my phone. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's different. It shows up different on the browser. It says New Georgia Project is a nonpartisan effort to register and civically engage Georgians. So that's what it has on my phone, and engage with our campaign. So then it says something different. It's just it's crazy to me. And these people are basically saying that the paper please movement and the people that are wanting to get rid of Dominion and do hand counts at precincts are wrong, and it's much safer to use Dominion voting systems. That's not what they were saying. You know, they flip-flopped this whole time, and they got all this money to create all this power and take money in, and it's just it's the status quo, man. It's crazy to me that you can just be kind of sued out of one shell company, and then you create a new company, and where all the money comes from, who knows? You know, who knows? And they looks like it links up to some campaigns. New Georgia, Georgia Ignite, Georgia Home, Black and Green Agenda, Nurture Georgia, Georgia Raise, Georgia Cares, Georgia Peanut Gallery, Reproductive Justice, Agenda for Young Georgians, you know. So, like I said, it's something that you need to be aware of, because we're just being attacked on all sides here by entities with an endless cash flow. But, you know, we've got to pay for 30% property tax, right? But these people get funded from God knows who, right? So anyway, I wanted to share that. It's a really good video that Joe Rossi did, and several people put together. I think Beth Mercure was there, Garland was there. It's worth checking out. So let's see, move along here really quick. The Georgia Record also, Georgia declares state of emergency. You can go to the Georgia Record and you can find this information as well. So I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Mark Dice. So we're going to move into this Tim Walz character, this what they're calling Tampon Tim, which is funny because they voted to put tampon in all the boys' bathrooms, and this is the clown we're living in because he has been picked as the Kamala's vice president and running. And you want to talk about socialism? These cats are crazy, and so Mark Dice did a really good job of putting this all together. So we're gonna watch Mark for a second and just break this down. Here we go.
Wonderful.
When I'm having a tough day or I'm out on about mile 5 of my run and I'm feeling kind of down and the world's pressing on me, I think Ilhan Omar's a congresswoman, and it just brightens you up. So thank you.
Anyone who likes Ilhan Omar obviously hates America, and that not only includes this creep, but also his wife. Here she is talking about the 2020 riots for George Floyd.
Now listen to this.
And how fantastic they smelled.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
She enjoyed smelling her city burning to the ground. Governor Walz is also very proud of legislation he signed into law last year mandating that all Minnesota public schools, grades 4 through 12, have tampons in the bathrooms. But not for the girls, for the boys. So you know what this means, right? Tim Walz has a new nickname. A nickname so obvious that it was staring everybody in the face. And a little uncomfortable for Sean Hannity to talk about.
They're calling him tonight Tampon Tim.
And the meme makers were quick to get to work, like this one.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. So,
all right, ready.
Oh,
whoa, wait a minute.
Wait, that's not the one I want to show.
Yes,
okay, I'm going
minute.
to stop it there anyway
Wait for
because
it.
trying to make
That's
this
him
a
removing
family
the
show.
old Minnesota state flag.
So this guy's crazy, absolutely crazy across the board. And I'm hearing that the Josh Shapiro, the Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, right, who was kind of a no-brainer. They decided to go with this Tim Walz very simply because he is Josh Shapiro is Jewish, and it wouldn't go good with the Palestinian, pro-Palestinian, pro-whatever people, Jelly of the Month Club people that are fighting on whatever. It's kind of like they pulled the race card out on that one. That's pretty funny to me. And but there's a silver lining to all this. But the one thing I didn't show, this clown actually changed the flag, the Minnesota state flag, to look just like the Somalia flag or something. I mean, this is some really, really cringe socialist stuff, and they're trying to paint this dude as like a Midwestern, camo hat wearing. I'm just a guy sitting at home. I could probably find the phone call real quick that he. Yeah, it's right here. So this is watch how they paint this up here. I mean, this Mark. If you don't follow Mark Dice, man, you need to. Mark Dice is absolutely great. He's a daily for me. But check out this cringe phone call that they played off.
The world is a stage, and politics is basically one gigantic reality show. The Democrats staged this cringeworthy phone call between Camelface and Tim Walz, informing him that he was the pick.
This is great.
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
On the road.
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's out there.
Look at him. He's just a normal Midwestern guy wearing a T-shirt and his
I
hunting.
mean, is anybody buying any of this? I mean, this is kind of crazy, right? But there's a point to all this. It has to be crazy. I mean, if these people were doing it right, we would really be up the creek without a paddle, right? But the fact that they are just completely demolishing themselves, and that all of this is so see-through and easy to see, That's why I always say, man, you just try to stand on truth no matter what. You don't have to worry about this kind of cringe garbage that they're spewing out at us, you know. And I'm sure you know by now, anytime you type in the word Donald Trump, or if you're looking for something specific politically, you know, Google is just pushing Kamala Harris out there everywhere. You know, they flip the script just like that, you know, just right overnight. Who on earth is running this country right now? I mean, God and mercy. And the funny thing is, and it's probably going to change by the time you're seeing this, but a lot of people have pointed out that you go to the Kamala Harris, you know, campaign website, and there's zero policies listed. There's zero policies listed on the website. This is not about policy. This is, well, if you don't vote for, you know, Kamala, you're a racist and you don't like women. You know, all the tropes. It's ridiculous. But this is the kind of stupidity level that they go to, and trust me, they're way more desperate than they lead on to. And a lot of people say, talking about the polls, man, talking about the polls. Well, look, how many elections have we went through where they just hammer the stupid polls at us over and over again? And I'm going to tell you right now, I've answered a few polls in my life. I will not answer any more polls anymore. I don't believe in these poll systems. I don't trust these poll systems. And you know what? They already get my information hook, line, and sinker everywhere when I'm on my phone, on the computer. I don't need to freely give them anything. So I just will flat out not answer any more polls unless it's some kind of click poll out there, you know, yes or no, one question. Sure, I'll do that. But these stupid phone calls asking me 50 questions, I'm just not going to do it because I don't trust any of the polls and the data. It's obviously clear that we're receiving nothing but just bull all the time, right? Case in point, well, I'm going to go, before I go to that, case in point, let me do one more with Steven Crowder. It's not long, but I thought this one was pretty good today. And so let me pull this up because you guys need to know the talking points. You know, this is Tim Walz. I mean, like, he's got stolen valor against him for the way he's using his position as a staunch socialist. He'll come out and tell you he's a socialist, you know, and this guy is horrible for the country. But here we go with let's see what Steven Crowder says.
If Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were to win, be horrible for America. Who is Tim Walz? The world needs to know how radical this man. And when I say this, he is the most radical of all the options. Certainly that we're being, you know, people were speculating as to who would be the pick. He may be the most radical governor in modern American history. I don't know that you can say that definitively. When I say the most radical of the options, let me be really clear, and I'll go through all of it. What does he support? Transitioning kids, no limits on abortion whatsoever, race rioting, burning down cities. He encouraged snitching on your fellow citizens as it related to COVID, and he supports giving licenses to illegal immigrants and ensuring that people with licenses get the vote.
There you go. So that's another key takeaway here. We've been hearing a lot more about this, and this guy's pretty open at giving illegal immigrants licenses, registration to vote. If you were paying attention to my Twitter last week, the viral video by Muckraker that went out talking about the certain apartment complexes and stuff where they went in and they talked to the immigrants there, and they've already received papers. Some of them have already voted. You know, this stuff's going on everywhere, and nobody is doing anything to stop it. So if you think your elections are safe, if you think that we've just gotten the free and clear and that we've gotten that little bump we need, even in the Republican states where Republicans are leading, think again, because this stuff is going on nationwide. And it's a perfect example of how the vice president that is running for that office that's how he's ran his state. So be prepared is all I'm going to say. Be prepared, because they are going to come at us every way, shape, and form, and the only way to stop it is to go vote. Go vote, and we vote Donald Trump like we never voted before, right? And that will, I mean, we're going to have to pay either way, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I wanted to bring this up really quick. Google. If you haven't already heard, now that Google is a monopolist, what's next? Now, this is from The Verge. I had a better story pulled up, but for lack of time, I'm going to read a little bit of this because you need to know what's going on with Google, right? A federal judge has ruled that Google has an illegal monopoly in the U.S. The market reality is that Google is the only real choice as the default search engine. Judge Amit Mehta said in his decision, and he determined that it had gotten that way unfairly. It's a ruling that could It says poured in big changes for the company, but yet we don't know how big, and we might not for years. So we all know. Did that even pop up? I don't know. I just read that from The Verge. Let me make sure it's there. Yeah. Anyway, that's the story. So Google has been deemed a monopoly. And there's a lot of details involved in the fact that, especially YouTube, how they try to run as a publisher and a platform and an advertiser rolled up into one. And we all know the broken internet theory that is going on. And Google has told us, the Google CEOs, the people that have been on, have told us how they curate their searches to leave out certain things. We've seen a ton of information over the last couple of weeks, especially involving the Trump assassination, where they have tried to derail the main stories that would get out otherwise. We know that we're heading into an election cycle, so information is going to be carefully controlled. And we're also playing it on a different play field this time because we have platforms like Rumble and X that are not censoring, that you have to discern the information like an adult. Telegram, to a large degree, is pretty free and fair for the most part. And I'm hearing stories that Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook is coming around after all this. I don't know who on earth knows about that guy. But hoping that it doesn't end the way it did the last couple of election cycles, where people like me that were out here actively engaged in this stuff just get everything shut down all at once, which has happened before. Believe it or not, computers have been fried. The motherboards are fried. Phones went black. I mean, it was really crazy. And those of you who know me well know that it has happened. I lived through that. I was kicked off in 2020 for 8 days, and my phone got fried. My computer got fried. I mean, it's not a secret. And there were others that this happened to. And coincidentally, all of them were running Second Amendment groups. So I know this happened, and even upon trying to get the stuff fixed, nobody could understand why it did what it did. So I'm hoping that, we see some light at the end of the tunnel, because we know Google is a huge data collection company. They collect all this data from us, and we give it to them, every single day. Every waking moment, there's a camera or your phone around that's listening, and they are a monopoly. And The thing is, I don't hold much hope now, because just like this article says, it could take years for this to right itself. And then, of course, there's appeals processes and everything else going on. All right, man. So it's something you need to kind of be aware of and keep that on the back burner. We'll be following that story as it continues to progress. But obviously, who knows in this age of tech and artificial intelligence where any of this is going to go, and if it will benefit us. Who knows? So this is the last thing that I want to cover tonight. If you haven't already heard of this guy, this Jamie Raskin. So this is just a little bit of words, warnings, heeding, however you want to look at it. But it's no secret to anybody out there that at this point in time, I still have yet to have anybody that can convince me that we're going to have an election in November. I know that's a rather somber look at things, but there's so many things at play, in the desperation of the Democrat Party and everything that they're throwing at us and everything that they're doing. They have no regard for the rule of law. They're breaking down our institutions, and then things are getting crazier. We've got two socialists, one cackling, no policy, person who was not voted in, who was told, the Democrat Party, the party of democracy, they didn't even get a vote. We literally went through an assassination attempt, and within the week, the president, whom everybody was, Joe Biden is great, up until the debate, right? And then they flipped the script, and now all of a sudden it's Kamala Harris, when she was the last person on earth that anybody would have thought that would become even the presidential front runner for the Democrat Party. And now we've thrown a loop with Tim Walz, because I guess the other guy was too Jewish. It would upset the base. This is the catering they're doing to this liberal lunacy. So I would say you could take this as a grain of salt, but we've got so many different directions that things could go in, right? The playbooks are out on the table. They've ran the scenarios, and who on earth knows? But I want you to listen to this idiot and what he's got to say, because this is going around everywhere. And if you haven't seen it, I'm going to share it just the same, because if you don't take things like this seriously, it may come back to bite you. So we're going to listen to his little snippet of what he says is going to happen.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
Now, a couple of takeaways here. He said, so basically, well, let's just read what Drew Hernandez says. This was from Exxon. This is the one I picked for to share. It says, I've been warning of this for months. Here is Representative Jamie Raskin confirming what I've been predicting. Even if President Trump wins the 2024 election, Democrats will not accept the results and refuse to leave the White House, creating a civil war scenario. So he's basing this off of Section 14. The 14th Amendment, Section 3. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up here really quick. 14th Amendment, Section 3. Let's see, what is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment? Well, where is it at? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to read this real quick because you need to understand what they're talking about here, right? We just need to be on the same page and understand what they are talking about. So, 14th Amendment, equal protection and other rights. Section 3, disqualification from holding office. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. So this is what they're basing it on, the constant insurrection. And I want you to know, pay a little bit of attention to what the man said about how they were just disappearing it, right? So has nothing to do with the rule of law, the fact that they really have no case and there's no such thing as insurrection. I pounded my fists on the table, said do not call this an insurrection. It was not an insurrection. This was a government-led window breaking into the White House that led many, many people in there. We've seen the videos. We still have never received the 4,000 hours of video that we were promised. This is not an insurrection, no matter what they say it is. And now the Supreme Court, of course, has ruled that, there's not very little merit in charging some of these people. I don't have the statute in front of me, but now you have these Democrats saying it doesn't matter what happens. If Trump gets elected, we are going to invoke Civil War style taking of the White House, disqualify him. So if you don't think that these people are capable of doing that, or capable, because number one, laws are only as good as the people that follow them, right? Once the rule of law breaks down, like California, for example, in a state where people can literally take shopping bags worth of stuff in their stores and ransack the places, go into cell phone stores, steal whatever they want. They can take a huge, gangs of people and go just into convenience stores, rob it blind, and They do nothing. Rule of law is no good when nobody's being held accountable. See, they don't care. They're calling this what it is, and they have plans in place, and which would be the final backup plan should Trump be elected, that they're going to create a scenario which could be a possible civil strife and create a much, much bigger problem. Now, we've got tons of geopolitical stuff going on. We've got our state politics going on. We see very clearly in Georgia that there's a big faction of never-Trumpers, establishment politicians who don't want to fix things. They don't want to make things transparent. What they care more about is having that seat at the table, business as usual. We see it so clearly. In very few states can we see it as well as we can in Georgia, correct? And we do see it. We're not that stupid. So we know we've got an uphill battle. We also know that some of these NGOs, some of these voting groups like the Stacey Abrams group that I showed you, they receive all types of dark money. They work together as a uniparty in this state. They have coalitions set up designed to take power away from the people, designed to limit the power of people who do speak about accountability and transparency. So all of these things are coming at us on a local level, a county, a state level, So who knows? We also have pandemic issues waiting in the wings, if you will. Things that they can install to try to install martial law, all of these different things. And then we have assassination attempt, impossible more assassination attempts, and the institutional breakdown of things like the Secret Service. The Secret Service, who was ultimately responsible for this picture in the corner. Okay? No matter what anybody tells you, all you have to do is pay a little attention. You understand that this was something that was allowed to take place. Donald Trump was not supposed to be in the equations, and this is why the desperation is so bad right now. This is why they've removed Joe Biden, and they're trying to install Kamala Harris and Tampon Tim. It's very, very simple to see, and we see it. We the people see it, and we are the people that are we live by the rule of law. So when this idiot, this jackwagon, this can opener says that we are disappearing insurrection, what he fails to admit is that in the court of law, this crap doesn't stand up, okay? In the court of law, when you sit down and you look at it and you understand it, it's not just a narrative, you look at the whole picture, that this doesn't stand. And very angry, not because the Supreme Court ruled in a lawful way, but that the Supreme Court did not rule in his way, you see? So now it's a question of, well, no matter what, you can do whatever you want, you can hold whatever elections you want, you can have the accountability that you want, it doesn't matter, because we are going to remove him, disqualify him on January 6th, should he become president. And my dear election friends, it's the same thing that I've been saying about what's going on in Georgia. And I told everybody a year and a half ago that we would still be on Dominion voting systems. It's not because I'm a genius or that you are doing something wrong. It's because this whole ordeal has been to placate and pass the buck, just like the Totenberg trial, all of these evidence, just like the tweet that came out from Brad Raffensperger begging for people to bring stuff to him when we've got people right there on the steps of the Capitol that are being ignored. This is all to placate and to waste time to get us into the next election, because they will never admit their wrongdoings and their guilt. They will never admit it. They've all got seats at the table, and everybody's covering for everybody. And those who may not be are trying to become friends and factions with so-and-so and so on, because guess what? We have another election in 26, and now I've got to make... It's all politics, man. It's all politics, and it kind of makes me sick, right? It makes a lot of us sick. But this is the way things are, and we're you got to understand, we're not the ants in the jar, okay? The ants in the jar are the ones that are in legislation, that are in government, that are elected officials. Those are the ones that are quietly working together side by side and getting along. It's we, the people, are the ones that are coming up and shaking the jar. You understand that? We're the ones that shaking the jar, and they're fighting, but we're the ones that has disturbed their peace. And all we wanted to do is say, hey, I want to know what's going on here. can you show me what these numbers mean? Why do I have to raise property taxes 30%? Are you kidding me? In this day and age, why are we tacking on votes and omnibus spending? Why do I have to pay my cell phone bill when you get yours paid for free? Like, what is going on here? Not free, the taxpayer's paying it. We're the ones shaking up the jar, and they do want us to stop. They want us to go back to our merry lives, watch the football games, quit paying attention to anything they're doing, and it's never going to happen again. It's never going to happen. So here we are, and I'm not going to say it's the end of the chapter, right? But you need to know what is at stake here, what's going on, because they've got what did they say? What did Chuck Schumer go out and say several years ago? Think about it. They got 6 ways from Sunday to get it back at Trump. You remember? Go back down memory lane and remember Donald Trump being spied on. And that was the biggest lie in the world. Russia collusion. It's the biggest lie in the world. All of these revelations that turn out to be true. And you can also go back and look at the clips how Donald Trump was loved and adored by everybody from Whoopi Goldberg to Jesse Jackson and blah yada yada, everybody, until he walked up that elevator, and then all of a sudden the script got flipped. But now we see it more than ever. So do I say take this as a grain of salt, what Mr. Jamie Raskin has said, but you're going to see this cat more and more and more. And it's 54 seconds, so we're going to play it one more time before I check comments and get off here, because, like I said, listen to what he is saying.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that
So, like I said, I played it one more time because you just need to know what they're saying, man. You need to know that what the plan set in place, that no matter what happens, this will be the most tumultuous election. This will be Georgia will be ground zero. The most historical. I mean, we're living in history right now, right? History in the making. It's all the more reason why you have to get out and you have to vote. You have to get your family, your friends. We have to reach out to the people all around us who don't normally vote or who might be disenfranchised in voting, and we all need to make our voices heard. If there's one thing that you could do is to get out and vote, because every single vote counts more than it ever has. And we understand, even if you don't like Orange Man, and I hope that a lot of these establishment people understand this. You don't like Orange Man, fine, whatever. But what do you want for America? Do you want to burn it all down like these people that open their freaking windows to smell the smell of burning tires? You want tampons in the boys' bathroom, or do you want a guy that's going to come out and is going to sign peace deals and get us out of these wars and start looking at America First policies that's going to strengthen our nation, for God's sakes? I mean, obviously, some people play for keeps. Some people, as long as they get their spot at the table, right? Anyway, let's see. Let's see if I have any. Who knows if I have any. Let's see. Roberto Rendon said, "Good talk. Cool. Hey, good to see you, Roberto. I hope you're doing well." That's pretty much all of the comments I got for this evening. You guys keep watching, keep sharing. You can support me at givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. And I'll try to fix that first intro. Thanks for hanging out with me while my sound was down. I do apologize. But got some guests coming soon. Hope to have Garland Favorito on here pretty darn soon. And we're gonna keep hammering away at the SEB and get some really good insight from people that know a lot about the elections. And be prepared, guys. November is going to be a battle. I mean, it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be a physical battle. It's not, we're not talking about kinetic. It's going to be a battle for your mind as we move further and further because, like I said, all of the glitz and the glamour of Kamala Harris is going to continue to wind down. She's got a horrible VP pick, and they're going to be picked to death. And it's just going to get interesting. But make no mistake, this has to happen because the desperation will continue to sink in. And that's where you need to be prepared. Because a rat in the corner, man, they'll lash out at you. So, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. Have a great evening. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to be putting some stuff out, but I'm not doing any video filming this weekend. We're taking the weekend off. So I will see you sometime next week. And stay salty out there, folks. And you guys have a great evening.